hell breaks loose when Maxwell Frost insults Elon Musk and Donald Trump at the House Oversight Committee hearing. You guys are not going to want to miss this.
Just a comment, because I've heard similar comments from other members of your party, and of course I love working with you guys. When Elon Musk or DOGE or the president look into some of the federal employees around here, and we all know federal employees around here because maybe we have relatives, we have friends, whatnot, who work in the government. We hear some scare stories about people doing, and there are many hardworking federal employees. I'm glad we have good federal employees, but we hear anecdotal evidence of people doing very little. If President Trump is the head of the executive branch and he discovers some employees doing very little, your position is apparently that we must keep these people going through the next budget or what have you and keep doing very little. It is obvious to me that both President Trump and the American public, upon discovering people who are doing very little work, should ask that those employees be terminated. It's not something he does joyfully, but that is what you do if you are running the executive branch. And it is ridiculous that we have to have President Trump attacked and the Republican Party attacked when an effort is made to find employees who are doing very little. I am glad that President Trump has assigned people to look into this, and there are critical things you can say about the Republicans, but I wish you'd focus on that rather than trying to claim that every federal employee here in this town is necessary.
Would you yield for a question?
Sure.
Well, because you're bringing up that it should be okay and you see no problem with the Trump administration and with DOGE doing this mass firing because, quote unquote, people are doing very little. How are they figuring out who's doing very little? I'm just curious.
Well, you'll have to ask them, right?
Oh, I'll have to ask them. So you're okay with being behind something
look,
that's happening, the mass firing of people, firing of veterans?
Congressman Grothman's time.
The president is in charge of the executive branch. I would assume at any given time people are being hired and being fired. Probably more than have been the last 50 years around here, but they are. They are not going to report to Congress every time they feel a position is unnecessary. That would be absurd.
Gentleman yields his time to Mr. Gosar.
You know, Glenn, I'd like to ask you about, wasn't there, this is not novel having somebody like this, wasn't Ezekiel Emanuel part of Obamacare? And I don't know what's more personal, or personal financial, or personal.
All presidents have unconfirmed advisors.
Thank you.
That is not a new thing either.
Would the gentleman yield?
Gentleman yields back, right?
Is it your position that the president can delete any agency created?
No, he yielded his time back. Chair recognizes Mr. Christomorte from Illinois.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just to very briefly address Mr. Grothman, I take you at, as being serious about wanting to improve efficiency in government and so forth. I think the issue is when you fire or give a pink slip to 200,000 probationary workers at one time, regardless of their efficiency, I think that's where there's a serious concern that's raised. But I want to just address one other issue, Mr. Comer, and that's the U.S. Postal Service. On December 14th, 2024, the Washington Post reported that the Trump administration was considering, at that time, a move to privatize the Postal Service and push thousands of Federal Service employees out of their jobs in favor of a broad privatization of the agency's essential services. Then, just last week, on February 20th, the Washington Post stated that the administration is preparing to, quote, dissolve the leadership of the USPS and absorb the independent mail agency into his administration. As you know, the Commerce Department, potentially throwing trillions of dollars of e-commerce transactions into turmoil. These reports are beyond troubling, And I respectfully request that you have a hearing again on the USPS. You had a very good hearing the other day where we were able to grill Mr. DeJoy. And I learned a lot. I think a lot of our members on both sides learned a lot. I think we need to have a hearing on this particular issue. As you know, the USPS is the foundation of our $1.92 trillion mailing industry, led courageously by numerous veterans, letter carriers who deliver 44% of the world's mail. More importantly, no private sector entity provides universal service across the nation. And without these letter carriers and others, more than 51.5 million households and businesses, especially in rural communities, Mr. Chairman, would have no guaranteed delivery. As a member of this panel tasked with oversight of the federal government's activities, including the USPS, I believe it's essential, it's imperative that we have this hearing, sir. I know that you and the ranking member care deeply about the USPS, and what the administration is proposing to do with the USPS, in my opinion, is illegal. It is against the framework of the USPS, and we need to look into it. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Before I recognize Ms. Green from Georgia, I'll just respond that when we see a proposal or something, we will have something, either a briefing or a committee hearing or subcommittee hearing or something. I'm interested as well to see what. You mentioned potentially throw it into turmoil. Some would argue the Postal Service is already in turmoil right now with the delays in certain mail sorting facilities. So I agree with what you said. I know you're sincere, and I think Ranking Member Conley and I have demonstrated we want to support the Postal Service, and so when we find out more, we'll do something immediately, have a briefing or a subcommittee hearing or full committee hearing.
I don't believe there's anything wrong with seriously investigating every single governmental program to see if this program can be streamlined and expedited so it can become more efficient. USPS is not a very profitable organization nowadays, especially with the advent of the internet and email. People are not receiving nearly as much mail as they used to, and most of the mail that you do receive is just junk mail. So I see no issue whatsoever with taking a good hard look at every single governmental institution and saying, can we make this better, yes or no? And at the very beginning, the guy was trying to say that Elon Musk is some rogue tyrant who's firing a bunch of governmental employees. He's getting rid of all the waste in Washington. This should not be a partisan issue. In fact, 10 plus years ago, it was not. Obama, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, all these people said the government needs to be reduced and we need to seriously crack down on this. And who better to do so than Elon Musk, probably the most efficient man on earth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Democrat colleagues across the aisle are complaining and pitching tantrums over Elon Musk and his DOGE teams cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from the executive branch and the federal government. Claiming this is unconstitutional is an outright lie. Article 2 of the Constitution clearly states that the executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America. President Trump exercised that power by appointing Mr. Elon Musk as a special government employee. The president, via executive order, created the U.S. DOGE service within the former U.S. Digital Service to implement the president's DOGE agenda by modernizing federal technology and software to maximize governmental efficiency and productivity. DOGE has been brought in exactly like the U.S. Digital Service during President Obama's tenure. This is not unconstitutional. 72% of Americans, this is on both sides of the aisles, you guys. These are people in your district, these are people in my district, agree that we need to cut the ridiculous amount of waste, fraud, and abuse because Americans, all of us together, are $36 trillion in debt. $36 trillion in debt is what should be unconstitutional. Not doing everything we can to save the American people their hard-earned tax dollars. You can protest all you want outside of departments of this government. You can protest all you want, but the American people disagree with you. You're protecting the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy is not a business. Those are not real jobs producing federal revenue. By the way, they're consuming taxpayer dollars. Those jobs are paid for by the American tax people who work real jobs, earn real income, pay federal taxes, and then pay these federal employees. Federal employees do not deserve their jobs. Federal employees do not deserve their paychecks. And these are jobs that can be fired at will. But you want to know why? The American people can't pay for it anymore. We cannot afford it. $36 trillion in debt. If you want to make that your platform, your hill to die on, go ahead, because 72% of Americans agree with DOGE, agree with cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse, and agree with what this committee is supposed to be about, oversight. So continue your temper tantrums. I would love to win the midterms. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Chair recognizes Mr. Frost from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. You know, in the mission statement that you've put out for this committee, it says it's to ensure that the economy, efficiency, effectiveness, and accountability of the federal government, which I think we all agree on. We all want to combat waste, fraud, and abuse. But the thing is that y'all are all looking in the wrong places. You want to talk about making cuts to things like Medicaid, which, by the way, over 35% of all the children in this country are covered under Medicaid. Over 100,000 people in my district are covered under Medicaid. People like the grifter-in-chief Trump and President Musk are openly using their public offices to enrich themselves to the tune of billions of dollars. So if we want to look at waste, fraud, and abuse, which I'm down to do, why is there complete silence on the other side of the aisle about looking at the complete grifter that is the President of the United States and the richest man on the earth, which is looking into things like Social Security and different things like that? Why don't we investigate the real corruption?
Hold off. Point of order.
I reclaim my time.
Point of order.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Hold off. There was a point of order when you said something. Who asked for it? Mr. Higgins.
Elon Musk as the president. Mr. Ranking Member, put some reins on that.
I can refer to Elon Musk as the president.
I don't believe the First Amendment has been suspended in this committee yet.
Yeah, y'all were fine with one of your other members
Suspend
talking
for a
about fighting
second. Let
someone
me
just a
speak
few weeks ago.
parliamentary-
Well, did anyone on our
Mr.
side
Frost,
make a meme
Mr. Frost,
coin
Mr.
right after
Frost.
being elected President of the United States?
Mr. Frost, before we proceed on all of this,
Mr. Chairman?
would you like to hold on? I'm the chairman. I'm recognize Mr. Frost, and we'll recognize you. Would you like to revise your remark with respect to improperly identifying the President of the United States?
I'll say President Musk and grifter-in-chief Trump.
All right.
Grifter-in-chief
Hey,
Trump.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Wait a second.
If I wanted to challenge someone to a fight, they would know it. Thank you.
There's an extra fundraising video for her.
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe that Mr. Musk is protected by the rules of the House or the committee. No,
We're looking at the disparaging the president now.
but I don't believe Mr. Frost disparaged the president. I believe he disparaged Mr. Musk.
Well, he did disparage.
Mr. Chairman, if
the president.
Mr. Musk
We called
actually
him the-
came here,
what-
then maybe the rules
All
of
right.
the committee
I heard
might
no
apply to
disparagement
him.
of the-
But-
I'll say
Will you
something
revise-
else.
We'll save a lot of time.
I'll say something else.
Okay, all right. We're going to let Chair recognize Mr. Frost. You still have 3:49. You're going to maybe revise the disparaging comment about the president because that's supposed to be our decorum here. And
It is supposed to be. President Musk and the President of the United States, Donald Trump, who is engaged in grifting of the American people, often use their public offices to enrich themselves. Someone on the other side was just asking, how would you
Point of
feel
order,
if you
Mr.
called
Chairman.
someone else from the
hold
other?
off, Mr. Frost. Hold off. There's a pending motion for disparaging the president. so the motion was words taken down about disparaging the president. And the chair finds the words for the gentleman from Florida are not parliamentary because they constitute personalities toward the president, which if you sit in the House floor, that's always uttered by the presiding officer on the House floor. You cannot disparage the President of the United States. So,
Mr. Chairman, would you please read back to us the words that were disparaging? Because I didn't hear.
You didn't hear the disparaging remarks? He called Donald Trump the grifter-in-chief. He called Elon Musk president, which is another slight at Donald Trump. But the fact of the matter is, if he actually focused on getting his information and his facts straight, rather than try and get these playground insults over Trump, then and only then would you be doing your constituents proud. Because the fact of the matter is, they're not cutting Medicaid, they're not cutting Social Security, they're not doing any of the lies that he said. They are only excluding scammers and people who were taking advantage of the system. Like, this guy probably thinks there are millions of people above the age of 150 in America. There were scammers pretending to be other people and taking the Social Security money away. That is taking money from the American citizens. That is despicable. In fact, there was a person receiving Social Security who was older than America. They were above 250 years old and they were collecting Social Security. Like, give me a freaking break. This guy went to the AOC School of Wisdom. How can you possibly say bad things about Elon Musk when he's doing this out of the goodness in his heart? He's not taking a dime from the federal government. He wants to do this because he thinks it's the right thing to do for this country. Even though he's losing billions of dollars, the mainstream media hates him and they are firebombing Teslas in the street. How can you not support somebody like this?
withdraw the disparaging the comments about President Trump. I guess you can disparage Elon Musk if you want.
I will withdraw
cannot-
grifter in chief, and I will. I will say the president's grifting because you spent the last 2 years saying
right.
President
Take
Biden was
down
corrupt.
his words.
I can say that Trump is
motion-
grifting. What I will withdraw
member-
is calling him grifter in chief. That is what I
The
will
chair
withdraw.
sustains the point of order, and the words in question are ordered stricken from the transcript of this proceeding. So the member is barred from further participation.
feel-
I challenge the ruling of the chair.
Challenge the ruling of the chair.
I moved to table.
Okay, we have a motion to challenge the ruling of the chair, and then Mr.
Motion to
Gosar made a motion to table the Mr.
Second.
Conley's motion. So there's a motion and second to table Mr. Conley's motion. The motion is not debatable. As many as are in favor of tabling signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair,
Mr. Chairman,
the
I ask
ayes
for a
have it.
recorded vote.
A recorded vote is ordered. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 20, the nays are 19.
All right. The motion to table passes. I now recognize Mr. McGuire.
I want to say it's despicable that this committee is going to silence me for bringing
The
up
gentleman's
Trump's-
words have been
Mr.
taken
Frost,
down. He is not
Mr.
permitted to
Frost.
speak for the rest of the hearing.
making millions of dollars.
Mr. Mr. Ranking Member, I'm going to have the Sergeant at Arms remove him if he doesn't refrain. All right. Chair recognizes Mr. McGuire.
Mr. Chairman,
Get out,
parliamentary
get out.
inquiry. Parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. McGuire.
Parliamentary
Thank you,
inquiry,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to.
When were playground insults commonplace? I feel like this is not the way it was back in the day with John F. Kennedy, Richard Nixon, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington. I felt like debates back then would never sway into personal attacks, and it is so prevalent nowadays. Can you imagine the outrage that would be had if somebody called Barack Obama the grifter-in-chief? They would be calling that person every name under the sun, a racist. If you have legitimate issues about Elon Musk and Donald Trump, show me the facts. Show me what you disagree upon specifically. Don't just say these vague things like, oh, they're grifting, they're stealing money from the American people, this, that, and the other. Prove it. Do you have any evidence of this? They often say the people who are most deserving of power are the ones who least want it. Donald Trump never wanted this life. He wanted to make deals with buildings and hundreds of millions of dollars. Elon Musk, he just wants to shoot rockets off into Mars. But they both witnessed the corruption of Washington, D.C. I mean, for goodness sakes, we're $36.5 trillion in debt. The interest on our debt was higher than the Defense Department budget. That is not a sustainable path for a country. It needed to be rectified. That's why those two guys stepped in. They didn't want to do this. They're doing this out of the goodness of their heart. And you have low-life scum like this guy right here, just hurling off insults because he has a difference in political ideologies. It's completely sad. It's disgraceful. It should not be happening in Congress. We need to elect better people because it's nimrods like this guy right here who are destroying this country. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this down below. Do you think that Elon Musk and Trump make a significant dent in the national debt, or do you think they're going to fail? Let me know your thoughts and your predictions. How much are they going to knock off? I'd love to hear it. And if you enjoyed, make sure to smash that like, comment, subscribe, and wish you guys nothing but the best. Till next time.